Everything changed in a matter of seconds. One moment, the Seattle Seahawks were just another team in transition, fighting for an identity in a crowded, completely unforgiving league. And then, the next, they're hoisting a Super Bowl trophy, carried to the absolute pinnacle of the sport by this terrifying, suffocating force that the rest of the league simply was not prepared for. Welcome to NFL Nexus. I'm your host, and today, we are tearing down the walls. We're looking deep inside the most feared unit in professional football right now. They call it the dark side defense. And in this explainer, we're going to examine the hidden strategy, the meticulous front office planning, and the absolute genius required for their long-term blueprint of dominance. Because building a championship team is hard, but keeping it, that's nearly impossible. Before we unpack exactly how Seattle plans to shock the league all over again, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this explainer, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, please consider supporting the channel directly by becoming a channel member. It really helps just keep bringing you these deep, cinematic breakdowns. Settle in, because this story, it's far from over.
So, on the screen right now is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the sheer scale of the dark side defense, then look at Byron Murphy's quiet dominance. From there, we have to address the looming roster problem threatening this whole core, exactly how they plan on drafting the future, and finally, the construction of a terrifying new trio. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the dark side defense, Mike Macdonald's masterpiece. What head coach Mike Macdonald has accomplished in just 2 seasons, it isn't just impressive, it's a masterpiece of defensive engineering. I mean, he walked into that facility, assessed the pieces on the board, and in breathtakingly short order engineered the #1 scoring defense in the entire National Football League. And listen, this isn't just about X's and O's, or scheme. This is about a massive cultural reset. This unit is defined by unselfishness, tenacity, and a sheer, unrelenting aggression that just breaks opponents down, quarter by grueling quarter. The dark side defense isn't just some catchy nickname the PR team came up with. It's an identity. It's the very reason they are champions. And just look at the staggering number on your screen right now. 292. 292 points surrendered over an entire 17-game season. I really want you to think about how mathematically impossible that is. In a modern NFL that is built entirely to benefit the offense, where the rules are explicitly designed to protect quarterbacks, where you basically can't even breathe on a receiver, and where the game literally rewards high-flying passing attacks, surrendering just 292 points is almost unthinkable. It requires absolute, unforgiving perfection. It requires an entire 11-man unit acting as a single, suffocating organism on every single snap. This is the undeniable proof of a defense that didn't just support a championship run, they literally carried the entire franchise on their backs straight to a title. Every single yard was a war. Every single point was bled for.
Moving on to Section 2, Byron Murphy's quiet dominance, the anchor of the defense.
So to truly understand the core of this historic unit, we have to pull our eyes away from the flashy, highlight reel edge rushers, right? We have to look away from the ball-hawking defensive backs making the flashy interceptions. We have to look right into the violent, brutal reality of the trenches, the absolute middle of the defensive line. Because this is where we find nose tackle Byron Murphy II. He is the anchor. He is the undervalued, under-the-radar monster whose sole purpose is stopping the run and creating absolute terror in the offensive backfield. While the edge guys get the massive headlines and the lucrative endorsement deals, Murphy is the one doing the dirty work. He's taking on the heavy hits, absorbing double teams, and allowing everyone else around him to shine. And make no mistake about it, he knows exactly who he is, and he knows exactly what he's being denied. Read this quote with me. "I want to be all-pro. I want 10-plus sacks. I know I can be the best D-tackle in this league. I'm aiming this high." You can literally feel the intensity there. You can hear the sheer hunger dripping off those words. Despite his massive contributions to a Super Bowl-winning roster, Murphy was inexplicably overlooked for All-Pro honors. But instead of letting that defeat him, it's forged this incredibly dangerous chip-on-the-shoulder mentality. He isn't just quietly confident anymore. He is a man on a mission. He's openly acknowledging the lack of respect, and he's using it as premium, high-octane fuel to utterly dominate the league.
Look at the stark reality of the NFL media landscape right here. What's really interesting about this is the direct comparison. On one side, you have Byron Murphy's elite, undeniable run-stopping and pass-rushing production. Production that, actually won a championship. But on the other side, you have pure narrative. The East Coast media bias and the massive, unending hype train surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles' Jalen Carter. The undeniable truth here is that Murphy actually outpaced bigger, more famous names like Carter in most statistical categories, and crucially, he did it in a shorter amount of time. Yet purely because of name recognition, geographical bias, and the way the media covers certain markets, Murphy just sort of remains in the shadows. It's a fascinating and, frankly, a deeply frustrating dynamic for a player of his supreme, dominant caliber. Let's visually anchor his dominance right here on this chart. Look at these staggering numbers from his breakout 2025 campaign. 62 total tackles, 13 quarterback hits, 7 tackles for loss, and 7 sacks. Now, the absolutely crucial point to understand here is the context of his position on the field. Getting 7 sacks from a one-technique nose tackle, that is extraordinary. Actually, scratch that, it borders on absurd. We're talking about a big-bodied athlete who faces constant, grueling double teams on almost every single snap of the football. Think about that. His literal job description is to eat up 2 massive offensive linemen, clog the A-gap, and absorb 600 pounds of human force play after play after play. Yet despite that immense physical burden, he is still finding a way to violently wreck the line of scrimmage, disengage from those massive bodies, and drop the quarterback 7 times. This level of sheer production from the interior is incredibly rare. It's the true hidden engine that drove Seattle to become the 3rd-ranked rushing defense in the entire National Football League.
Which brings us to Section 3, the looming roster problem, an aging defensive line.
Right as you start to think this defense is completely invincible, a shadow falls over Seattle. Behind the Lombardi Trophy, behind the parades and the champagne celebrations, there is a very real, very looming crisis keeping the Seahawks front office awake at 3 a.m. The foundation is starting to crack. The harsh reality of the NFL is that time comes for absolutely everyone. And Seattle's currently facing an agonizing bottleneck regarding the age and contract status of their defensive front. The dark side defense is terrifying today, sure, but what happens tomorrow? I want you to walk through this list with me because it paints a deeply concerning picture. This is the immediate, age-related threat to the franchise's future. DeMarcus Lawrence, 34 years old. Jaron Reed, he'll be turning 33 by the end of the year. Leonard Williams is 32. And on top of all that, Uchenna Nwosu is scheduled to hit free agency in 2027. We are looking at the core, veteran leadership of this defensive line rapidly approaching the twilight of their physical primes. In the brutal, unforgiving trenches of the NFL, where bodies collide with the force of a car crash on literally every single down, a defensive line relying heavily on players in their mid-30s is a ticking time bomb. One wrong step, one serious injury, and the entire structural integrity of Mike Macdonald's masterpiece could completely collapse.
And the pressure? It's drastically compounding, because they aren't just battling Father Time, they are battling the agonizing restrictions of the salary cap. Look at these massive free agency departures on your screen. Kobe Bryant, Reek Woolen, and crucially, dynamic edge rusher Boy Mafe, who took his incredible talents over to Cincinnati. Losing a young, explosive, highly productive talent like Mafe, it only amplifies the sheer urgency of this situation. Think about the predicament here. You have an aging veteran core rapidly declining on the interior, and simultaneously, you're bleeding youth, speed, and athleticism on the outside. The front office knows exactly where they're standing. They are standing right on the precipice. If they don't rebuild this defensive front aggressively, intelligently, and immediately, this dynasty will end just as quickly as it began.
And that brings us to Section 4, Drafting the Future, the 2027 Master Plan.
This brings us to the ultimate solution, a master plan to reload, rebuild, and rearm. We're analyzing a fascinating 2027 mock draft scenario presented by Bleacher Report. When you're picking at the back end of the first round, specifically at pick 30, as projected here because you're a perennial championship contender, you have to draft incredibly smart. You have to find players who fit a highly specific, highly demanding profile. Seattle's impending roster bottleneck requires nothing short of a surgical strike in the draft. To fully grasp exactly what head coach Mike Macdonald is looking for, you have to understand this definition right here on your screen, the defensive chess piece. So what does that actually mean in the modern NFL? It means a player with exceptional size and flexibility. Someone who can work off the edge and rush the passer, stand up in a two-point stance to disguise coverages, or physically reduce down into the interior during specialized sub-packages to just bully slower guards. It perfectly describes Bleacher Report's projected target for Seattle, Anthony Smith, a massive, terrifying prospect out of the University of Minnesota. We are talking about a freakish 6'6", 285-pound frame, a young, relentless gladiator who provides instant flexibility along the defensive front, fully capable of stepping in for those aging veterans the exact moment his name is called.
Just let this number sink in for a second. Look at the screen. 17.5. That is 17.5 tackles for loss during Anthony Smith's breakout 2025 college season. He also posted a massive 12.5 sacks to go right along with it. This isn't just some situational pass rusher we're talking about. He has a violent, completely disruptive force against the run. He practically lives in the opposing backfield, blowing up plays before they even have a chance to develop. He might not be the most universally famous name in the upcoming draft class just yet, but if you pair a massive 6'6", 285-pound frame with that level of elite, explosive collegiate production, you're looking at a player capable of seamlessly carrying the torch for this defense for the next decade.
Section 5. A terrifying new trio, securing the dynasty. This leads us to the grand design, the ultimate culmination of this incredibly intricate defensive blueprint. If the Seahawks execute this master plan, they aren't just putting a temporary Band-Aid on an aging roster, they are forging something entirely new. They're securing the dynasty by perfectly aligning their current roster moves, their massive financial investments, and their future draft capital. Let's walk through this timeline together, because this is where you really witness the pure, methodical genius of the front office at work. In 2024, edge rusher Derek Hall bursts onto the scene, right? He proves his worth by posting a massive 8 sacks. Then, in 2025, Byron Murphy officially breaks out with his dominant 7-sack season, straight from the interior, thriving despite taking on all those brutal double teams. Now fast forward to 2027, and you project the potential arrival of Anthony Smith. Piece by piece, year by year, they are methodically layering young, hungry, elite talent into this roster. They're perfectly staggering their development and their prime years so that as one veteran phases out, a new, highly trained monster is primed and ready to be unleashed upon the rest of the league. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the incredible financial and tactical synergy happening right now behind closed doors in Seattle. Look at this matrix. This is exactly how you build a long-term winner in a salary cap league. First, you have Byron Murphy entrenched as your interior anchor. Because of his absolute dominance, he's going to need a massive market-setting contract extension very soon, and deservedly so. Second, you have Derek Hall on the edge. The team already recognized his value and locked him down, securing his future with a massive 3-year, $42 million extension. He's financially secured to take over the massive production void left by Boya Maffe's departure. Finally, you purposefully slot in Anthony Smith on a cheap, highly cost-controlled 2027 rookie contract as your flex edge. I mean, the math is absolute perfection. You balance a massive future financial extension for Murphy and a $42 million commitment for Hall by bringing in a highly productive, incredibly cheap rookie in Smith. It's an absolute masterclass in salary cap management, foresight, and roster architecture.
So, we arrive at the future, the next evolution of Mike Macdonald's masterpiece, the future core. A menacing, immovable nose tackle in Byron Murphy, demanding double teams and violently wrecking the interior with a massive chip on his shoulder. An explosive, highly paid edge rusher in Derek Hall, hunting the quarterback with absolute precision. And a freakish 6'6" defensive chess piece in Anthony Smith, moving seamlessly around the line of scrimmage, creating utter confusion and mismatch nightmares for the opposing offense. This is exactly how you survive the brutal, inevitable attrition of the NFL. This is how a championship front office looks at an aging defensive line, looks at painful free agency losses, and simply decides to reload. This terrifying youthful trio is the exact blueprint required to ensure that the dark side defense remains a suffocating, game-wrecking force for years to come.
Which leaves us with one final, legacy-defining question to ponder. Will pairing the unstoppable interior force of Byron Murphy with the dynamic edge tandem of Derek Hall and Anthony Smith guarantee another championship ring for Seattle? Well, in a league defined by absolute chaos and razor-thin margins, nothing is truly guaranteed. But I will tell you this defense isn't going quietly into the night. They are reloading. They are incredibly hungry. And they are coming for the rest of the league. Thank you so much for joining me on NFL Nexus for this explainer. If you enjoyed this cinematic deep dive, please don't forget to like this explainer, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below on whether you think Anthony Smith is the true missing piece. And please remember to support the channel directly by becoming a member. Until next time, keep your eyes on the trenches.